PR Connections Radio presents.
Did you know your clothing could help balance your body's pH levels? Our cutting-edge fabric technology naturally promotes optimal pH balance, helping you feel energized, refreshed, and at your best every day. Use promo code PRTalk for more info. Tap the link in the description or contact our experts at 702-445-9488 to learn more.
All right. Well, I am back, as I had mentioned, with Lisa Vasquez. She is the host of Liberating Menopause, one of the newer shows on our network. Welcome, Lisa. You and I haven't gotten together in a while.
Thank you so much. And I really love the idea of how you did bring this broadcast together to give us a voice for that ordinary person, as you said, because this is a voice that I'm speaking for a lot of women. And I never thought I could have this dream come true, to do as I had said, that one day I will make sure that I could bring out their conversations and exploit more about what's really happening with us women in all these changes, because the structures need to change. And it's exciting to have this opportunity to have that voice for them. And, someday I really hope they all get to hear this and know this and see what I've done to create that voice for them. Thank you.
Yes, when you and I were talking about this, Lisa, and your concept of this podcast that you wanted to develop, for me, it was an eye-opener. And an eye-opener in a way that, as a man, we're going through life. Yes, we have experiences with menopause. It doesn't happen to us personally in the way that it does with women, but it's just something that unless you're dealing with it directly, it's not it wasn't for me. But as you started to describe your movement and the education that you wanted to provide to people, it was as clear as day how important it is.
Thank you. And that was what was most important. It was just my introduction with you, the conversation, and how you felt it and received it. And you understand the passion that I really have for this. And it's been bottled up for so many years. And now, going through all these movements of my changes in life, career-wise, trying to advance to this point, I didn't really realize. I knew I loved talking, but I didn't know I needed to put it to a source. And when I did, this is what happened. And this is I just love every week knowing I have a cool conversation to speak, and things that have been so totally shifted under the carpet can come out now and stay out this time.
So what's your experience been like? You've been on the air for a couple of months now. You've gotten to do these podcasts. I know you do interviews, you do monologues. Tell us what's it been like being a podcaster?
It's exciting because it's just talking to my friends all day long, but really, to the world. You could look at past journals that I have written that someday I had hoped I could talk to the world. I didn't know that it could be possible, and here you are all these years later. I come from the 80s, so we didn't have a voice like this. So as I'm planting these seeds to see how exciting it is, I see people doing this, and it just looked like it was unachievable, unreachable, and that comes back to a cultural history of, you're in that standard life performance of following the trail of education, having a good marriage, career, retire, grandchildren. Not that a woman can be who I am today, speaking and liberating menopause of all subjects, the heart of our movement, our bodies, everything. It's great. It's exciting.
And what has the feedback been like so far? I know in our messages, we get feedback about your content. As far as the people, I know you've got a community that you are working with on this, that follow this and are supporters of yours. What's that been like?
That's really been exciting to see how they reach out in the conversation of thanking you, for instance, of suggesting having this podcast. That one statement meant so much, because wow, for that one woman to actually say that, and so many other women, this is a big conversation that they're excited to hear about. As I speak, there's 82% of women that really want to really make this happen. And then there's a 72% that are afraid of speaking out. They don't know how, they don't know how to, get past this stigma and the myths of, this conversation should just be hidden and never talked about. So to hear these things, and when you just bring up the conversation, you kind of get a funny look at yourself. You look at you kind of, really? Because I said the word, but then all of a sudden it's a conversation, and it really grows from that moment of just that word, menopause. So it's exciting, very exciting from the women.
Yeah, I think about the stigma, Lisa, and one of the reasons why I felt connected to you in terms of bringing the show on the air is why would there be a stigma about a natural human occurrence, right? The cycle of women, menstruation, all the way to, this is something that's happened as long as there's been human beings. And I just always wondered, like, why is there a stigma behind something that's as natural, that produces life, right? This is the beginning of the process of all of us who are on this planet even being here. So removing the stigma, I just never understood why there was a stigma behind it in the first place.
That's exactly why I want to empower this and change that conversation, because the gift that we're given to create this life, connecting to the cosmos in that moment of the bonding of the man and woman. So he's a big part of this, and this that's a connection. And all you have to do is, as long as you're nurturing that nest, that you're growing, that you're developing for the future, it's a beautiful thing. But it always, because of the burden of blood and the sloppiness that it can be, that's how it was said. And, but it's a woman, and it's just like any other bad process we have, in changes of, if you had a problem in your oral health or something, there's a change, right? You're going to have, say, a cold sore on your face, cold sore, so it's a cold sore, and we live with that, right? This is a natural biological process, and and that's why teaching these young girls, as I mentioned, I had a new book that came out, A Girl in the Red. It's to really empower her now, that I don't want them to be ashamed of this, because that good energy and positive energy is what enforces our lives to become so much more brilliant in this world, instead of, as we grow, like it's like a flower, and all of a sudden we start to wilt because we're coming into that age. All of a sudden you're 47 years old, you want to advance in your career, and you can't because you're a woman. Now you step down, and now you're confused, because you're a woman. That's why, because of the changes. So, how they can first put their suits on to walk in that boardroom. It's crazy, but there's so much more empowering when you're confident in this walk of yours. And I could only say that because of how women directed me through my life to bring me that confidence. I didn't know. I was 20, they were 50. I really didn't know what they were teaching me. And it was just really great news for me.
Yeah, and another thing during that conversation, Lisa, that was interesting to me is the title of it is Liberating Menopause. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, actual menopause is what the focus of this is going to be, until you started talking about the fact that you're working with young girls even before they menstruate. This is something throughout their lives, right? That the whole educational process is, this is how you're right. This is a lifelong journey, and your empowerment of women over the whole course of their lives.
Yes. And when you say that, this is a really cool thing. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I could say it today. So I created these empowering purses, because in the past we were only given hygiene things to go to the restroom with and take care of ourselves, right? But it's an empowering purse that has all kinds of cool things in it. Different size pads, a journal, a pen, jewelry for the confident closet. This little girl, when it's time, she's going to get the empowering purse to move on, not just how we were presented with it. Okay, here, hide this, keep it in your pocket, and go to the restroom. So it's really exciting, because liberating is through conversations, right? And the only way it can change is if we keep talking about it and others speak of it also, because this shouldn't be hidden anymore. We're the structure of the world today in employment and labor working. And so women need to be, the world needs the structure now for us instead of this manly structure. It's been great, but things have changed for us. So.
Right. Well, I'm going to exit the stage now for Lisa. So please welcome Lisa Vasquez and the Liberating Menopause podcast.
Thank you
Enjoy.
so much. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. That was a great conversation because Guy is correct. I don't always get to talk with him. And so speaking on Liberating Menopause, this is exactly what it's all about. My life growing up, I want to tell you just a little bit about the radiology life. And this is kind of where the structure of building health into our bodies came from, because there's so much of, destruction. And as life we developed more. I started in the 80s, but as the 90s and 2000s came, more disease and destruction came in. And this is so much of importance because you always have to wonder how can this keep happening? And there's so many ways that you get to look at the body from the inside out. And when you can see the changes that need to take on inside, this is where it all happens. But we're used to just trained really to see the outside. I mean, nobody really tells you, hey, look out for your gut health, or, make sure you're taking care of your kidneys or your liver. We're not structured that way. We think that those things are for the doctor to take care of, when in fact, liberating yourself in this world with health is by you taking care of it, you being the doctor, you knowing yourself, you coming to terms that if I'm feeling a small ache in my hand or something, I better study it a little more, studying your life in action, because that could be an accumulation of something that can build up later. But in fact, in the past, we've always released it and continued on. And, they once told me that if you talk to a woman from war times and told her something about menopause, she'd kind of laugh at you because they didn't experience it like that. They just worked right through it. And sometimes, I don't know if it was cultural, environmental, really, I'm not sure how they really got past it, because there's so many signs and symptoms that women carry through, and how this works for them without feeling that. I don't know if they became numb because of the life and times that they were living in, but it was such a hushed, secret that today we're out there more. And those women were more behind closed doors because a lot of women weren't working. We didn't work yet. And it wasn't until we started working that more disease and destruction started coming into our lives. In my past podcast, I've talked about the pelvic floor. I mean, for instance, so for a long time, at least 40 years, women have been sitting down doing jobs at keyboards, and now we're looking at screens, and now we're on the phone and different things like this. And it's an accumulation, but they're not seeing it as a condition of what's being affected by our hormones. And in fact, every day we're shifting, every day the hormones are different. And so the healing process can stop for a moment, as right when you hurt your wrist, carpal tunnel, 3 times more than what a man has, because of the fluctuations of hormones during the healing. And there's so many different things that happen to us in today's world. And so now it's more pronounced, and feeling that with your lifestyle, with your family, home care, all these things that a woman has to do. It's not just focused in the home anymore. It's out here. And how do they cover it up? How do they conceal this identity that they're having these shifts and changes? This isn't something that we should keep hiding, because it's part of our process, it's part of our life, and it's part of what we have to go through. And so if nobody sees it that way, then we're always going to be hiding it, and we're not going to become liberating. And that's the whole goal for this new generation. I mean, even our younger generations right now in their 40s, they're really reaching to find more healthier ways to live. This isn't something our generation did, because we were just living. And unfortunately, we fell into a lot of traps that put a big disconnection in our lives in some type of health problem, such as, diabetes or high blood pressure or body movement, being stuck, unable to move your bodies as easy as you mature. There's so many different things, but the point being is that, if we can talk and share the stories more, we can hear more about it. I mean, we need, like, in employees, we need to have some type of feedback. There should be something just to see if anybody's really, really speaking about this anonymously. Somebody, where that you can start the conversation, but in a private way. You open up that box. It's just like a suggestion box, and you're going to see so many different things that are happening. Nobody has to put their names on it, but at least you can have that feedback from the women in the place. And even men might, have a question about this because they have wives, they have daughters, they have, sisters and people who have gone through that. So they might have some questions that can get answered. We totally are not alone in this anymore. We've grown in these families, and everybody has watched this happen for years and years and years. They took us from a history of it was like an evil sign. Now they brought it into, okay, they stopped abusing us because of the changes. I mean, old history, they really did not understand this. And so women were challenged by this their whole lives. And I was recently talking about menstrual cycles. The challenges, this challenge starts in our lives when we're young, because our little girls go through it, because they're hiding it and they're concealing it and they're scared to talk about it. So by talking about my book, bringing that out, hoping these little girls are going to really have this conversation. I was talking to a grandfather, and it was so interesting because he bought my book. He's sharing this with his grandkids. He's a really up-to-date kind of grandfather. He likes feeding them from his yard. He grows his plants and fruits and vegetables. So he's really nourishing them and teaching them different things. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? When these little girls grow up, they're going to hear the story. When they say, who told you, or how did you hear about this? My grandfather. And that was just so touching for me, because he was such a great guy in this conversation. And when he brought that to me and said that, it was so exciting to know one conversation is going to be from a grandfather. And that little girl is going to grow up with such confidence, because, I mean, of course, the mother will be involved, the grandmother will be involved. I'm sure they're going to hear it, right? But it was him. He wanted to be able to do this. And that was so exciting. Another woman, she can't wait to get the book so she can share it with her daughter. And she has 2 daughters and she has a son. And, I was telling her, connect him into the conversation, especially because they're so young. And this way they have a better understanding that these little girls, little boys can be pretty hard on little girls about this. So, but really making it that natural process. Little boys have that natural process. We don't pick on them or even bring it up. It's such a hidden conversation, but they go through changes. So by liberating this and reinforcing, this comes through those open conversations. And I'm hoping that that's what this book is going to start. There'll be more books because there's lots of trails of navigating this pathway to bring you into the abundance of what our healthy life can bring us if we manage it, we nourish it, we move it, we meditate on it. If we do all these things to keep us healthy and monitor ourselves, because every day, as I said, we're always changing. It's hard to actually identify yourself. I still can't, because I'm always evolving. I always want to keep growing. I mean, before March, I wasn't a podcast host, but here I am today. And this is so exciting. That was kind of my birthday in February. So this was a real gift. And to think that I evolved to this place, and to see so much more to come out of this, because I want to fuel this movement for women. I really want to wake them up. I want corporations to wake up, bring in this starter pack of building foundations, gaining feedbacks. I have in my company, Modern Menopause Consultancy, this is what all that is about. This is why I brought into that conversation of starting that consult, because this needs to be taken into the workplaces. Everybody that came to me in the x-ray department were coming from, they all had a job, they all had work, but there was a lot of breaking. And, so you follow the trail, they came out of home, now they're working, now these are changes. And, okay, so here's kind of where it started. But if we nurture the workplace more for women, giving it more of a female structure, here's another, for instance, because I come from the healthcare system. In one of my jobs, I was uniforms, and they were all the same. We all wore the same uniforms. They were all baggy. They all kind of represented pajamas. To me, I wasn't confident in them because I worked with women, and I always felt like I'm greeting the women, but I just didn't look womanly to bring them in. And I had to, but I wasn't happy with it. There's no confidence in the same kind of scrubs that don't give you form in your body, that don't give you comfort in the changes that women are going to go through. And then, because a lot of them are tie string with elastic bands, as they expand, because we're in those 8 to 12 hours, depending what your day is like, you get used to that. A long time ago, we would have pants that were buttoned, zippered, and we were able to contain ourselves and control our weight and see that. But now, the extension of all these different uniforms, and because women, we work there all day long, we just grow with it, and it shows, and we don't want that. We should be able to be womanly and wearing more fashionable clothing to represent that medical system with confidence for the patients who aren't feeling so well. So that was just kind of one of my, for instance. Other things are like some of the uniforms in hotels, or say, for instance, they're tight, they're snug. Women are having hot flashes, and this is what they have to wear. I always bring up that window situation, because where I was working at, there was a lot of girls that sat at their window, and not considering the fact that what if they are going through changes and they have to sit at that window? That's their place all the time. So restructuring, just considering some of these things. The leaders, especially the women leaders who are in this position, that's what's important, because if you could bring more to them. They may have made it through the top, but a lot of them had to go through a lot of challenges. And that's why it should be so important to share these stories with the younger generation and the challenges that they might come up in this division of work that they're working in, because this woman, whoever is that senior position, has already gone through those challenges. She worked in all 5 departments, and now here she is on top of them all, right? But she knows the pain or little challenges that the body will have as they develop through all these different departments. So just giving them insights, building up what could possibly happen. Nobody starts to work out their bodies and realize that pelvic floor, you're losing blood flow to the pelvic area. Nobody's thinking of that. So elevating desks, that should be the future, where the desks can go up and they can go down, not just stationary anymore, the way they've always been, because we want to live and stay in our jobs and be there and work through it. A lot of women dedicate their lives to that, but 47-year-old, she had to leave her job because she was trying to get that CEO position and realized, she wasn't going to get it. She's a woman, and corporate wasn't going to let her in there. So she left the job and had to go redesign herself. She had to go reconstruct her life and try to figure out which way to go next. And a lot of women from that point on like to start their own businesses, because now they're in control and they know what they can do to make it easier for the next generation. I have a publisher, and she's been brilliant at that. When she started publishing as a young aged woman, she was cosmetology girl first, and then she wanted to write a book, and she saw all the changes and challenges that women go through and things that weren't correct for a woman. So she opened and started her own. She's a very big industry today, and it's exciting, and soon I'll be having her on the podcast, because we want to talk about visions. Ladies, in all this conversation, the work, everything that we flow through, Do we forget about our dreams that we had when we were young, even though, the family style came in, the kids came in, your in-laws came back home? We need to set up a menopause cafe, something that we can have these discussions in and talk about that vision that you planned, because the careers are only for a certain part of your life, but what happens afterwards? Before, women just stopped and they didn't proceed on. They were just happy to be home. But today's generation, women want more. They want so much more. And this is what Liberating Menopause is all about. I want to help you make those dreams come true. I want to give you those pathways to bring out that vision in yourself, in your jobs, every day that you're in those jobs, whatever position, where you're at right now in those moments today, whether it's just being at home, there's always so much to learn that you're going to incorporate that somehow into tomorrow's day and the next day. And the vision just grows from there. And this is what evolution and evolving in women's life is all about. We stay nourished, we keep evolving, we develop, and we get to open our eyes and see big dreams and how we want it to look that day we step out. And I want it to look like that vision you have, but I have to remind you to pull that vision out, to bring that awakening in your heart, in your mind, in your body, and especially in your soul, because that's where it all lives. So by keeping yourself nourished, taking care of yourself, keeping that mental health. I always talk about sitting outside. That is a big charger for the body, and that really can bring in some good vibes and good waves. Thank you so much. Being here live today has been exciting for me. Liberating Menopause. I'm excited to see what more comes in the future as I help to continue fueling this part of the movement. So PR Connections, everybody on the team from behind the scenes that I don't get to meet everyone. Thank you so much for today. It's been an exciting journey with you, and I'm looking forward to our future. Thank you.
Wow, that was a mouthful there, Lisa.
Thank you.
A lot of very valuable information that you offered there.
Oh gosh, thanks so much. Because I never get this part of it after I finish the story. So it is exciting because I know in my heart what I talk about is just so real that I really want you to feel it and touch it, because it's there, So thank you.
Yes, being genuine. Again, when we talk about what this network represents, Lisa, I had my monologue earlier where I talked about why we are doing this and the evolution of it, and it's being able to tell a genuine story, like the one that you just right. It's about that's it. It's about, like I mentioned, real people telling real stories that relate to the everyday person's life. And again, there's a space for celebrity. I know we celebrate celebrities in our society a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. No. But I this is real life stuff. You're talking about, right? Day-to-day living for a woman, a daily life experience that you are giving a great education about.
Thank you. And I thank everybody, and especially all the women that planted a seed in me. I mean, if you saw how big the field is, I can't even show you how big it is in my heart. It's just so beautiful. Thanks again for the voice and for everyone who listens. Thank you.
All right. So will you let everyone know when they can tune into Liberating Menopause?
So we're usually hosted on Wednesday mornings, 5 a.m., and it's exciting because I really want to be that wake-up call in the morning. So I love the 5 a.m. slot so that I can catch you before all the rest of the noise comes in with, all these other banging sounds. I really want you to have this moment. And the way to work, wherever you're at 5 in the morning, getting ready, just listening and having that time to hear something that's going to feed the vibe for the day.
All right. Well, all of you out there, please tune in to Liberating Menopause here at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Of course, you can check her out on all the social media platforms. But when it all comes down to it, if you want to watch the archives of her videos to get this outstanding information that's going to help a lot of women and men, I believe. I love the story that you told about the grandfather and that great, right? Again, men experience this at a different level, but thank you so much for sharing that, because it's not that we're not concerned about it, right? We love our daughters, our wives, our mothers, and just a conversation. I love that piece that you talked about. Let's have conversations about things. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. That's how you make things better for people.
Right. Yes. That's why that was so touching, because, for him to tell me that, and, to know how concerned he was. And just like I said, just that one story written in my book about that story, that it's coming from a grandfather. And I'm looking forward to more grandfathers and men, to share this, to look excited and be part of this, because that's the fun of it. When you grow with your daughter for that, because normally they step back, right? And that's your mother's thing. But no, it's so cool when the little girl can see her daddy doing that, I think. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep up the great work, Lisa. We look forward to seeing you again at the next marathon. But again, for those of you, please tune in to Liberating Menopause on any of our video streaming platforms. And as I had mentioned before, all of our audio streaming platforms, specifically Spotify, because we know that that's a popular one, but we all have our choices. So you can always listen to Liberating Menopause on Spotify specifically. But before the end of the day, I'm going to give you all a list of the streaming platforms that you can also listen to Liberating Menopause on.
Thank you, prconnectionsradio.com. It's been a pleasure, everyone. Have a great Memorial Day. Have a great Memorial Day, and remember the service that's been given to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.